Hey there. Today we're talking about community empowerment and building sustainable communities. I have the honor of sitting down with lifelong Detroiter and community activist and educator, Kim Sherobbi. Kim is the founder of Burwood House, her home and nonprofit neighborhood community space, and is a board member of the James and Grace Lee Boggs Center to Nurture Community Leadership. Thank you, Kim. Let's get started. All right, so before we jump in, do you mind just giving me a little bit of background on who you are and how you came into community activism?
Yeah, who am I? So, who am I? I am a native Detroiter, and I'm Kim Sherobbi, a native Detroiter. I have lived in my neighborhood for almost 60 years, still been in the same neighborhood. Um, and the way that I came into activism was really through block clubs. Initially. My mother kind of planted the seed of being active when I was a child.
Okay.
She was active in her community by way of block clubs, and she must have gotten that through by way of her mother, because my grandmother was a block club president on the north side of Detroit. So when my mother moved to our block, which is called Burwood Street, she got active in the block club, and I grew up through like I said, through the block club. And I think that's where I got the seed planted to be active in community.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So what would you say community empowerment means to you? And what does it truly mean, in your opinion, to be involved in the community?
So, community empowerment. First, I should share that I don't like the word empowerment very much. Because I'm going to tell you, so empowerment means that somebody's giving you something.
Okay.
That when I hear people often say, "I'm going to empower you," and I think, you can't empower me. What do you mean? Or I'm going to empower them. I believe that people can create power for themselves and for their communities by the way they behave and interact with each other through resources, through truth telling, speaking truth to power. But I really don't believe people can be empowered. I believe it's something that's developed. So that's what, so to be empowered means to me is to develop that power through those things, those methods.
Oh, perfect.
And you asked another question. Help me out, I think, after that.
Yes. So what does it truly mean to be, in your opinion, to be involved in the community?
So I think there's different ways to be involved in community. It's many, many different ways. I will tell you that being very active in my community, in the city, and actually beyond, oftentimes I will hear activists and other people criticize each other about how people are active. And I think that any contributions that people are making to enhance their community should be honored. And I don't think it's one right way. I think that there are many different ways actually make a whole. Now, the way that I'm active in community is by creating the vision that I want to see in my community. So for instance, I'm not so much a person that does a lot of resistance and protest. Sometimes I might join in, but that's like not my focus.
Yeah.
So again, it's many different ways. I think all the ways that people are active should be honored, and that our contributions together make a whole, and that they actually work together for the benefit of our community and of our people when we're working towards it.
Yeah. That honestly, that's where we come from we grew up in the same way. We used to distribute the neighborhood, we call it the Grand Monitor because we lived on Grandmont Rosedale.
Mm-hmm.
And we would distribute that. It was like, the newsletter that went around to everybody in the community. We get on our bikes and go with our parents, hand them out to all the houses. And so we really grew up in that area of like, you're in your community, and because you're here with these people, and these, all of you guys are here together. So like, what can you do together, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to make? What can you guys envision together, and what can you create together? That's been instilled in myself and in my sister for a very long time, and it really fuels us in what we do, because we feel like, who do you do it for? You could work, but like, what do you do all of this for? Who isn't who are you envisioning as you do all of these projects? Like, are you doing it because you're just trying to make money? You're just trying to get some sort of social clout? Are you trying to do it because you're showing off to say, hey, look what I can do? Or is it something that's like a meaningful collaboration with the people that are your home, that are where you live? So we talk a lot about building communities that are interconnected, and we talk about how to kind of make change. Like, all of these communities are already built, but like, how do we connect each other together? you know and so we really have to shift that mindset from every man for himself to just centering the idea that every individual in the community holds value, and that we can solve our problems together. So, leading into my next question, as we do shift the narrative from supreme independence to being connected in one's community, how do you believe that we can go about meaningful reinvestment without upholding or recreating the same systems that we see now?
Mm-hmm. So the statements you just made, you were really speaking my language.
Okay.
So we're like right there together, right?
Okay,
I
perfect.
mean, so you're speaking my language. And so, as you said, doing things together, making it meaningful. And what is meaningful? It depends on who's around you. Getting to know your neighbors, finding out what they want, uh, um, making sure the actions that are taken is beneficial to all.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I've been focusing on lately, and actually have been um, encouraging people to do, is do what I call inner work.
Okay.
And so inner work is, um, by my definition, the process of having integrity within yourself while practicing principles and values of um, accountability, love, generosity, empathy, like compassion within society. Having those way of beings that's going to allow you to connect up and have people feel secure
Mm-hmm.
and feel like they belong. And again, making a contribution without having shame and being shamed and blamed.
Right.
Um, that's the work that hasn't happened, because we have had a lot of, we do have classism that we have to, I think, work within our communities. When we talk about bringing all communities together, I think that inner work is going to be key. And I'm talking about the Black community now. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be key to that, because I know that there are some communities that don't want to interact with each other. And again, I'm saying Black within this Detroit because of, I'm gonna say, classism.
Yeah.
So not recreating the systems. In the systems, when I think about systems, I think about laws.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's a little deeper, but I want to also, and man makes systems. And so systems are made by people, rather. So changing ourselves so we can begin to tackle the losses in place, becoming knowledgeable, figuring out how to break those down, and then treating each other with respect and being honest about it, but still loving each other. And that's what I mean by holding people accountable without destroying them, but still keeping the person intact.
Yeah. We feel that same way, especially in the area of like when you are working in a space, when you are collaborating, removing that kind of like, I can't quite put the name on it, but removing that feeling or that ideal of like a savior complex, I should say, versus actually being of service and support. I think a lot of the times, especially when we like young activists, a lot of people like myself, when they jump in the game, they're like, why hasn't this been taken care of? Why have we done this? Like, I'm going to come in, we need to move this, we need to do that. Y'all aren't doing anything. This is crazy. And that's really not it. You're like missing the mark, right? Because it's like, you're not, who are you to like come into a space and just write it all up, blow it all up, be like, you're doing it wrong, I'm going to fix it, right? When really it should be, what can I learn from you guys who are already doing this work? What can I do with you? Like, how can I break ground with you instead of it just being, give me a project to work on so that I can execute it and be done? You know, that's not the point. That's like, you're just missing the whole thing. I feel like a lot of people, when they first get into work with their community or just any type of standing up for your space in any way, like you kind of come to it like, hey, this has to be changed. We have to make all these changes. And it's just not always like that in every space, right? It's just not everybody wants quote unquote help, right? Like you have to keep people's dignity intact, right? Like I'm coming to hold your hand because I saw you slipping, not because I'm gonna come give you new legs so you never have to slip again, right? So yeah, we are definitely on the same page there.
I said you speaking my language. We don't even have to talk anymore, you know, because we're so much in alignment. And I just love the word you use, with. It's like with each other. And sometimes you can do things for someone,
Mhm.
but doing things for someone, not attached to ownership or you owe me or you're doing it for me because you're trying to make me feel, because you're trying to make yourself feel good.
Right.
But it's about helping people to um, thrive, to transform to their better selves. Um, and the same thing with community, again,
Mhm.
with the with and working with each other and finding out what's really going on. Um, but I can say to you that I've been in both of those places. I've been the savior when I didn't know, when I was volunteering with organizations across the city, and they were mostly service oriented
Mm.
organizations, which is okay. We also need the service oriented organizations that give, you know. But I do believe in helping people become self-sustained
Mhm.
and not always having to receive, because it's great to be able to give and to build with other people. And then I think people just miss out on a lot of growth and opportunities when they're constantly taking.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, no, great. Because I think so. This actually leads us into the next question that I had. So we firmly believe in doing what we do with love, right, and kindness. And so if that's the beginning, if that's our starting point, right? Like I'm doing this because it's not, I'm not gaining, I don't necessarily have to gain something from this. I'm doing this because I love you. So let's just do it, right? So we believe that we lead with love in order to create new sustainable centers, whether those are power centers that are truly dedicated to transforming a space in a meaningful way. So growing with the space, not just putting something on it. And so when we first started out, we really did have to address all of that in our work, because we're like, that's not what we do. Like we're not here to do to like come in, change the culture of the space, say, hey, we're revamping this, so we're use this material or whatever. It's like, how do we preserve the culture of the space? You lead by letting others show you, this is what I want in my space, this is what I need. And thank you for coming to help us do it, or just coming to watch us do it, or be there for us while we do it. And so that's really our biggest goal We don't really do, I think we're really different in terms of designing. We're kind of a different kind of agricultural team. It's like our purpose isn't to just be like, here you go. It's to give you something so that you can be autonomous, right? And preserve your community in the way that you want to preserve it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's our ultimate goal. So what is your ultimate goal with the Burwood home and the property that you have?
I told you, you just spoke it.
Yeah.
No, it's the same thing. So one, independent thinkers, independent, and when I say independent, I do think it's uh, independent, not for just self, but I think it's very important for people to be able to think for themselves
Mm-hmm.
and also to be able to think with people. There's a need to be critical thinkers, to problem solve, to figure out how to work things out, as we go along. But again, it's the with, and then being able to take those ideas and skills and ways of being anywhere, and wherever a person goes, that they could make a difference, and also have a life that is fulfilling to them,
Mm-hmm.
and to share like you're doing with your neighbors. That's just going to just really uplift, um, really humanity and the place where people are. So we're the culture, we're the we're the newness. And even though things change, and that's why it's so important to be able to problem solve, figure things out, because we're always in the process of becoming and being. It's nothing really stays the same. Um, but also keeping in mind lessons learned from history and from the past.
Yeah.
Sankofa.
Yeah, I was right about to say,
Yeah.
yeah, bring it with you. Bring it with
Hmm.
you. Go back and the lesson, implement it in what you're doing now.
Yes.
So, our last question is, what do you believe is the best way for us to invest in a sustainable future?
So the best way to invest in a sustainable future is to be one, committed, to be committed to a vision of, let's say, full life, in my opinion, um, and the earth, to making sure that the earth is in good shape, and really be the way we've been talking about, the doing it with each other, respecting each other. And I think those are sustainable practices and ways of being. Yes.
Perfect. Those are all of our questions, but I wholeheartedly agree, and that's why I was so excited to talk because I'm like, I know we're on the same page.
We're on the same page. We didn't
This
even have
is
to talk, but it was nice meeting you.
right. Thank you. Yeah, we've just been talking on the phone. It's finally
Yeah.
nice to put a face to it.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
no, we talk a lot about on our page and things like Detroit is alive and well, and
Hmm.
there's many people who hold the spirit of Detroit in their hearts and are dedicated to investing in their communities. And we're thankful for people like you, who really do serve as an inspiration to not only young activists like myself, but I'm sure an entire host of generations to come that will live in your legacy and the legacy of others that have been set up in and around the city. So thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thanks for talking with me and inviting me to talk and sit down with you and finally meet.